We ready? Well, good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you tonight to our October 5th Hendersonville Regional Planning Commission meeting. And it's time to get started. And I would note that we have some planning commissioners absent tonight. I believe Mr. Hardwick, Mr. Hardcastle, Ms. Silkwood, and who else? Ms. Stringfellow. They will not be with us tonight, which leaves us with 6 commissioners. So we do have a quorum. So we'll go ahead and do business tonight. Let's bow for a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for Hendersonville. We thank you for this time we have together tonight to do your business for the city of Hendersonville. Pray that you'll give us wisdom, give us clarification. We thank you for it. In your name we pray. Amen. There are no public hearings tonight. Is there any requests for information and assistance? All right, hearing none. Additions to the agenda? Hearing none. We have the minutes from September 7th. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Altizer makes the motion, second by Mr. Peterson. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Okay, passes, so ordered. We have site plans. The first one is Cheerville Material Change Request. And Mr. Whitten, go ahead and bring us up to date.
Okay. My report is. My report's going to address both Cheerville and Half Batch. They're separate items on the agenda, but they really need to be considered in tandem.
Okay, I would have no problem in just doing the report together, and then if there are any questions, we'll just, because it's all kind of together, right? And then we could vote on them separately.
Correct.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so these were, both of these were approved at the last Planning Commission on the same agenda. They were both approved with all brick exteriors on all 4 sides. So when they made their initial first submittal last month, they had proposed CMU on the sides and the rears of both buildings. And of course, staff made them aware of the building design standards and the need to conform to those, and that CMU is not a preferred material. So that's what they ended up proposing on their building elevations, and that's what got approved at the last Planning Commission, brick all around. So they're back tonight. They would like reconsideration of that particular item, the brick. The existing shopping center has painted CMU on the rear and the ends of that building. In the graphic in the staff report, you can see the blue line that's drawn on the shopping center. That represents everywhere there's existing painted CMU block. They would like to match that material on the sides and rears of the 2 proposed buildings. And the red lines on the graphic indicate where they're wanting to change from brick to painted CMU to match the shopping center.
Okay, so the bottom graphic is what they're proposing, or the proposed east facade and the west facade.
Okay. Right, that's correct. So that's Cheerville up on the screen. So that top picture shows the south end of their building that faces the residences on Camino Circle. That's probably, of the walls that they're requesting a change, that's probably the one that's has the most exposure to the public, to Bonita Parkway. That's Half Batch there. So that top picture, the wall in between Half Batch and the existing shopping center, they're proposing for that to be CMU block. And then the rear of Half Batch, the rear of Cheerville, the interior sides as well, they're proposing to be CMU block. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think what we're going to do now, you see what they want to do, commissioners. Let's take up the Cheerville particular request. And go back and tell us one more time, Timothy, about the south wall again, or was that on half batch?
Yeah, so the south wall is, Cherville is the bottom gray
Okay,
rectangle, and the south wall is facing the bottom of the picture there. It's facing the homes. That wall, there is a substantial buffer, a treed buffer in between that building and those homes. But you can see the way the building's kind of rotated to the street. Again, of the walls that they're wanting to change to CMU, that one has the most exposure.
okay, so
To
just
the
to be
street.
clear, what we're looking at is the interior walls between half batch and Cherville. The back walls facing the shopping center, and then the south wall you're talking about, they're wanting to do that facing the homes. And there's a
Correct.
buffer. Okay. Any,
What is CMU?
CMU stands for Concrete Masonry Unit. It's just, you've seen it in a lot of locations, especially on old buildings and industrial areas and places like that. It's just a gray concrete block.
Like what we used to call a three-coat block?
Yes.
okay, are there any questions by commissioners for the applicant or for Timothy?
Let me ask one more
Yes,
question.
please.
Timothy, when last week, they agreed to make all sides brick. Last month, excuse me.
That's correct. That's what they proposed.
Okay, and they agreed, we passed it that way, they of course agreed to it. Now they want to come back and put the block in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on Cherville? We'll have to do these at two separate votes, obviously, but I always have a little bit of consternation about backtracking on something we've already approved and that applicant has agreed to. I can certainly see the interior walls, which are really not facing anything, and I think there's a good case to be made for the back walls where are simply non-existent. The south wall does have a buffer, so that wall right there, we could make the case that one could stay like it's supposed to be, but that's just my opinion. But that's we can do it however you want to. So I'm open for suggestions. Mr. Hasty.
What was your comment about the south wall?
Well, the south wall, they're wanting to change that to CMU, from what I understand, and that's facing the homes. But there is as Timothy has said, there's a big buffer there. So it's not really going to be seen, but
David, is that buffer, is it landscaping? Is it trees
it
and
looks like
shrubs?
it's a tree line.
So it's there now, but when we have Ida, we don't have
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I don't know that the homes would be able to see that readily, but in the wintertime, they would,
Yeah.
I would think. Yeah, Mr. Hasty.
That buffer area, is it on the property of the center, or is it on it's not on the homeowner's property, is it?
Mr. Whitten.
It's on the shopping center property. The bulk of it is.
David, can I ask a question?
Ms. Altizer.
Timothy,
Yes, sir.
what reason did they give for wanting to make these changes?
I don't believe they've revealed that to me. I believe they're here and could speak to that.
Okay, please, we'd love for you to come and speak to it.
You said maybe 20.
Yeah, I'm Tommy Brown. I'm the architect for Half Batch.
I'm Joseph Plummer. I'm part of the architecture team for Cherville.
And I'm Sue Honius. My husband Mike and I are part of Half Badge Brewing.
Okay, thank you.
And so the reason for the request is that when we met last month, we were two separate entities, two different contractors, didn't know what Cherville's plans were. And so I designed Half Batch to abide by the design guidelines, which was brick on all four sides. Since that time, we've got the same contractor on both jobs, and are trying to work together for, efficiencies and economic reasons. And we felt like, well, there's so much exterior walls that are not visible by the public. Do they need to be brick? And that's why we're coming back, because now we've kind of got both projects together under one roof, trying to work together to the best for our clients. You got
Okay.
anything?
The only thing I was to add is the south wall in discussion. I mean, the only public that's going to be going back there is any employees that need to get in the rear of those buildings. So it's not like that road back there is readily accessed by the public.
Okay.
Dumpsters, the very back is dumpsters, a grease pit.
Can you go ahead and get close to the
Oh, I'm
mic? I'm sorry.
The very back, I work at the brewery, so I'm there often. The very back is dumpsters. Some people park back there. There's a grease pit back there. The wall that's facing the neighborhood, there's a big buffer. I didn't even know there were houses back there, to be honest with you. And I go to the back of the brewery a lot. I do sales for the brewery and unload empty kegs. I never even knew there were houses on that exterior side right there, the one side that you were talking about that faces the neighborhood. I didn't even know there was a neighborhood back there. There's quite a bit of a buffer, but if you had any other questions, just let
Okay.
us know.
All right, any questions?
Down here, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Coker, please.
Gentlemen, I realize y'all are the architects, not project manager, the contractor, but can you give me a ballpark of what the difference in cost would be on this?
I
It's
didn't.
sizable. For
Okay.
us, I'm sorry, it's going to be a deal breaker.
Okay.
Honestly, we're 4 years old. We'll have to look elsewhere. And that shopping center, it's really grown. I don't know if you're all familiar with it. That shopping center has grown a lot. We all kind of feed off of one another. Meat Sweats. I can guarantee you, Half Batch has doubled Bluegrass Bar and Grill's income. We don't serve food in our brewery, so people are welcome to bring food in. There's another restaurant that's actually being built, I think it was a Jack in the Box, that's coming soon, that I foresee people bringing food from that restaurant. It could potentially be a
Well-
deal breaker. It's sizable. We have a certain rent amount that Half Batch can afford
Sure.
in order to make ends
We
meet.
certainly understand that, but, also we understand what the guidelines are.
Yes.
And we also understand that the Half Batch came before us, and in good faith, we approved the project with, as it was proposed,
Right.
with those walls. And here, a month later, we're coming back and, well, we can't do that. I
Well,
understand that.
It's with the pandemic too.
I understand that, but I'm just saying to
Yeah.
you, the cost of it, the planning commission cares about that, but we don't, we go by what our guidelines are.
I
Now,
understand.
you're requesting a waiver on
Right.
that, and this commission may grant that.
Okay.
But I just want to be clear that when you came before us before, that we passed it based upon our guidelines, and you agreed to
Correct.
all staff comments at the time. So anything we do right now would be something that the planning commission would say, well, we agree with what you're talking about, and we're okay with it. And we've done that before, but I'm going to leave it up to the commission to help us out here. Any more questions? Thank you for your help, though.
I'm sorry being honest.
Oh, no, you're okay. You're fine. You're
Chairman,
fine.
if I might just point out one thing that I failed to mention, that is, at the last planning commission, y'all asked them to consider going back or asked Cherville to consider matching their brick, changing their brick to match Half Batch.
I remember that.
That they have done that.
Yeah.
So that they did make that change. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
mention that.
David? can I-
Yes.
One comment that I'd like to make, and it goes back to what you were saying, David, and that's that south wall. Okay, I would be a little more reserved of saying I don't really want to give up and let that be cinder block. Okay, and the interior wall, I think I could live with a cinder block change. Okay, the back wall, I agree, it doesn't need to be brick. Okay, it's a non-public area. and I could live with some changes there, but just wanted to go on record to say
For the
that.
south wall.
On the south wall and the
Okay.
back wall.
All right. And on the south wall, that would be, put that graphic back up there. That would affect,
South wall being the
The
one
Cherville,
at
that'd be on
the
the
very
Cherville one.
bottom of the screen.
okay,
Now, the south wall of the brewery,
would
that's
be
an
the
interior
middle.
wall,
Yeah,
I could live with that being brick a block.
okay, all right. All right, so let's take Cherville first, and we'll need a motion. So essentially, we're going to, it sounds to me like that there is some, Mr. Peterson, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I appreciate the businesses in there. I've been going in there for several years. I've never once paid attention to the painted wall on Bluegrass Bar and Grill.
No.
I never even noticed it. Have we had, Mr. Witten, any neighbors voice concerns about CMU wall that you're aware of?
No, not that I'm aware of. I think that shopping center was built in the 70s, so they've had a lot of time to get used to it.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I
no
don't-
complaints that I'm aware of.
I don't have a problem with the facade looks good from what I see, and I don't have a problem with this request at all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, do we have a motion on the Cherville property? We need a motion of some sort.
Well, I'll make a motion so we can get it on the floor and we
Please,
can vote.
please,
And
let's go
then, and then it can be discussed further and modified if you
Yes.
so choose. With, an option, you know, I kind of like the idea of the south wall being brick. And the two walls that are the space that separates the two buildings, you know, for a visual effect on the front, maybe if they just wrap the brick around, say, maybe 20 feet, and then they could go with their CMU units from the rest of it. So I'll make a motion just that the south wall of Cherville be brick, and on the interior between the two buildings, wrap brick around for approximately 20 feet, and that gives another brick visual maybe from the front that's looking at from Bonita Parkway.
Okay? We have a motion that's, once again, that the south wall would be brick, and that the interior walls on the Cherville property would wrap with brick approximately 20 feet,
Here,
and then the rest of it would be CMU. Am I correct in that?
go to blocks here.
Did I capture that right, Mr. Hasty?
Do what, sir?
Did I capture that motion right? I think I did.
Yeah, the brick on the south wall and then 20 feet on the,
All right, we got
Two
that.
between-
We have a
just-
second on that.
I'll second that.
We have a second. All right, any more discussion?
And this is Cherville only.
This is Cherville. Yeah, we got to take them separately. All right? All right, Ms. Beery, we got a, okay?
The south wall, which is facing the one closest to the residential area, would be, on this proposal, would be
Brick.
brick. What about the longer wall that is
In the back.
in the, what is this? Yeah, the back.
In the
of it.
back, those would be CMU.
The back, and then the side that's going to face the next building.
That's-
Part of this wall that's facing the other building, 20 feet of it back from the sidewalk would be brick, and then the rest would be CMU.
north side, that it would just need to be brick for approximately 15 feet from here, terminating, and then the rest of that could be CMU. And that I
That's a
believe
very
is
good
what
proposal.
Your
I like
motion
that.
was.
Did you hear all
Mr.
that?
Hasty.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second on the charitable property. Ms. Beery, call the roll.
Altizer,
Yes.
Coker,
Yes.
Hasty,
Yes.
Longmire,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Jenkins.
Yes.
That's 6.
Okay, now we'll move on to the Hatch Brewery. And once again, I think that the only thing that the back wall is fine. Mr. Hasty, would you like to make a,
Yes, for the Hatch Brewery, I guess, just be that 20-foot offset from that visual area that would match the Cheers side on their
rest be CMU?
approximately 20 feet. I mean, I'd let
Staff can
George
work out the
staff
exact.
work that out
Yeah.
with both parties on whether it's 18, 20, or whatever would be
Whatever it needs to
appropriate in that area. So, I mean, and Hatch is getting off with a lot less brick, but
Yeah.
that would be promotion, the motion to be compatible with what we did with Cheers.
Thank you very much. We've got a motion. Any?
I'll second that
Second that.
motion.
Mr. Altizer seconds it. Do we have any more discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Beery, call the roll.
Altizer,
Yes.
Coker,
Yes.
Hasty,
Yes.
Longmire,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Jenkins.
Yes.
That's 6.
Okay, thank you very much. We now go to the Crown Castle Cell Tower. Mr. Witt?
Cell tower at Indian Lake Elementary, which is there at the top of the photo. That tower is slated for removal. The school has decided not to renew the lease for that tower. So that tower is to be removed by, I think it's August of next year. The loss of that tower will result in a substantial gap in coverage at the south end of Indian Lake Peninsula. So the city, in response to that, the city is making an effort to close that gap in coverage before the removal of the Indian Lake Elementary Tower. They did an RFP, a request for proposals, and accepted the proposal of Global Signals Acquisition for, we're at Fire Hall number 4, there at the corner of Indian Lake Road and Bonita Parkway. And that's, if this is approved, that tower would be moving about 600 feet southeast of its current location to the fire hall. It's the same type of pole. It's a monopole. It's the same height, 135 feet as existing. The city approved that RFP subject to getting a conditional use permit from the Board of Zoning Appeals and site plan approval from the Planning Commission. The Board of Zoning Appeals granted the conditional use permit at its last meeting.
Okay, it's pretty straightforward. I'm looking at the red square here on there are no, if the thing were to fall, there are no homes in the pathway. Am I correct?
So they have designed a fall radius of 50 feet, I believe. So they say that they're going to design it to be less than the setback that they're asking for. And that, I should mention, they're asking for 2 modifications, which is like a variance, which I need to go over real quick. And that is that the ordinance requires 200-foot setbacks on all sides of this property because it's surrounded by residential zoning. The lot is too small to accommodate that. So they're requesting setbacks of 189 feet on the west property line, 178 feet on the south property line, 60 feet on the north, and 58 feet on the east. And that east property line is probably the most pertinent to the discussion because that's the only side that's got residences, actual homes on it. The other 3 sides, it's common open space or the school or the Indian Lake Forest Swim and Tennis Club. So they're requesting a 58-foot setback on that side rather than the required 200 feet. And then the second modification they're asking for is, the ordinance says if they have any ground equipment associated with the cell tower, it needs to be within a structure, and if a structure is provided, it needs to be brick with a pitched roof. Again, the applicant says this particular cell pad, because of the tightness of the site, is quite a bit smaller than their standard cell pad. So they don't really have room to do a structure like that. So instead, they're proposing to do brick columns at the corners of the fence enclosure. They'll insert privacy slats into the chain link fence that surrounds it. And of course, they'll have the required evergreen screening along the perimeter of that fence. On top of that, there's an existing very substantial 20-foot wide landscape buffer between this cell pad site and the adjacent homes to the east, as well as the common open space to the north.
Okay, so on the setback variance, if you want to call it that, you're telling me that, I think the one that would be the question would be the east side, 58 feet, is what they're wanting.
Well, they're digging a variance on all four sides.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the smallest one would be the east side.
Correct.
Okay. And they're going to design this particular product for the cell tower, so the breakaway is 50 feet?
50 feet, correct.
Okay, all right. All right. Is anybody from I think we got, the design engineer, I think if we could talk a little bit more about that. I think my big concern, I can't speak for everybody, would be simply if something did happen. I mean, we want the tower there, obviously, they need it, but for emergency reasons and all that kind of stuff. But
Sure. So this tower is in the process of being designed and constructed. It's not actually been built yet.
Yeah, okay.
And so the standard that we're going to use is a 50-foot break point, primarily because the fire hall is 55 feet away. So we told the city when we started this process, we were going to make sure it wouldn't fall on the fire hall, because obviously that's the closest structure is the fire hall. The reality is these things rarely fall.
Right.
And, it would take a pretty big catastrophe for one of them to come down. They usually, in high winds, because their structure doesn't grab a lot of wind, they don't fall down very regularly, but they are designed so that they've got a break point, and we've committed to have the 50-foot break point so that we can avoid any building that might be close, and that would keep it on the fire hall property, because as you pointed out, the closest boundary is more than 50 feet away.
So the one that's really most at risk would be the fire hall.
That's correct. And that's what, when we talked to the city initially, that was their biggest concern, is we don't want this thing falling on the fire hall. And we said, we don't want it to fall on the fire hall either. That's, our goal is to not have it fall down at all, but we can design it so that it'll fall to the 50 foot so that it won't get the fire hall.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions for Mr. Witten or for the engineer?
My name is Jim Murphy, too, so
I'm sorry,
just
I
for the
should've asked
records
you.
that I represent the applicant. Thank you.
Jim, the only question I have, is there any way you could, you're talking about putting all the gear above ground and putting it behind a fence. Is there a way to put in a vault below ground? out of
There's
sight?
not. There's not. It's just the site is really small with the pads and for the equipment. There's just not. We're having a small site because the fire hall site is so small. So there really is not, and that's why it won't be visual. It's going to have, as Timothy pointed out, it will have screening around, evergreen screening, and we've 8-foot tall evergreen screening around the exterior. Then we'll have the brick columns at the corners. We'll have black vinyl coated fence with slats. So from the exterior, no one would see anything that's inside the compound.
Okay. All right, any more questions? If not-
Mr. Chair, can I make one more point?
Yes, you sure can.
Mr. Witten said that we were asking for 2 variances. I think there's a third one. I think there's also a requirement we can't be within 1,500 feet of any structure in a residential district. And
That really refers to 1,500 feet from other towers.
Okay,
So,
okay.
which you're.
I just wanted to make
comply
sure
with
that
that,
we're not leaving off something we need.
No,
So,
you're-
okay,
you're good
perfect.
on that front.
Thank you. For that clarification, we're fine. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, yeah, this is we don't get these requests often for cell phone towers. Well, I think in my time on the commission, maybe there's been one or two others over the years. And it seems like that the breakaway point is going to be 50 feet. And the buildings that's most at risk is the fire hall, other than the residences that would be far in excess of that. So do I have I would entertain a motion, Mr. Hasty, if you want to put it on the floor or somebody, so.
I'll make the motion to accept with all staff comments.
Thank you. Do we have-
Second.
And all waivers, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do we have a second?
Second.
There's a second by Mr. Peterson. Okay. All right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Beery, call the roll.
Altizer,
Yes.
Coker,
Yes.
Hasty,
Yes.
Longmire,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Jenkins.
Yes.
That's all 6.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Staff level projects, of course, you've got Durham Farm Phase 3, Section 28A, Durham Farm Phase 3, 28, or 2B rather. I don't have my glasses on tonight. The Maranatha Assemblies of God Shelter Site Plan, Savannah Phase 6, and then we got the, I really don't have my glasses on tonight. Okay, then the projects pending, Durham Phase, Hazel Path, Indian Lake Village, Jolly Ollie's Sprinkler Riser Room, Martin's Barbecue. Well, just out of curiosity, where are we sitting on that particular project? Somebody tell me that.
I can tell you
Yeah, go ahead.
that. Yes. Let me get that. Yes, they are moving forward. They've submitted for an actual addition to the building and kind of a change to the parking lot. But as far as we know, things are moving forward, and they're even expanding what they originally were going to do.
Okay, all right, and then 105 Rice Road, Walmart, the curbside pickup renovation, and Walmart parking lot ATM addition. And that's all we have in staff projects that are pending. And there's no other, I don't think, and we'll planning director comments.
I don't have any extensive comments this evening. Just wanted to let everybody know that the amount of potential development and the amount of meetings that we're having on things that are going to be coming before the Planning Commission in the next couple of months is substantial. The agenda for next month's meeting will be substantial, and we do see that probably for the next 5 or 6 months. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be rolling in, and there's a lot of very exciting things that are moving forward. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Hearing no other business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. Longmire makes
Second.
the motion, second by Mr. Altizer.